From the shadowy depths of the city, where justice and mystery intertwine, emerges a broadcast as daring and vigilant as the masked Avenger himself. You are tuned in to the Green Hornet Case Files, unveiling the legacy and cultural significance of one of the greatest crime fighters of all time. Now, let the adventure begin. Here are your hosts, Kory and Greg.
That'd be us.
It is. Surprisingly,
yeah. I am Greg.
And I am Kory.
This is Green Hornet Case Files.
Number 18?
Is it 18, 17, 18, 19? I don't know which one it is.
I've lost count.
But what we want to do tonight is today, depends on where you're at, I guess. Yeah.
Somewhere in the time frame.
Somewhere, over the rainbow. We're going to jump back into becoming the Green Hornet.
Part 3.
There
we go.
Bum, bum.
I like that you let the music run a little bit longer than normal. I like that.
I let it run all the way out that time because I like it. I like that. It kind of sets the mood.
We got to do that episode coming up soon.
What's that?
We wanted to do one on the music.
The music episode.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to talk about. With that episode. A lot of music that we can kind of play little snippets of as we go along with that.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Fortunately, because it's all in public domain. Hey, we've had some nice comments from some folks, and we asked the question, last couple of episodes, we've asked the question about whether you thought that Green Hornet and the supernatural world could
work together.
Could play together. Had a really nice comment from one listener that had some nice things to say about the episode, and then said, I think the Hornet would work well with supernatural elements. How about Britt and Kato hunting vampires?
Gonna be all over that. I think it'd be rad.
You know what? I'm still working on it. Okay.
They don't have to turn out to be actual vampires.
Well, that's true.
You know what you can do?
True.
You can do the bait and switch at the end. And again, with what kicked off that whole conversation was Haunting of Venice. I had watched A Haunting in Venice with the Hercule Poirot, and got me thinking. Man, I bet that just an interesting Hounds of the Baskerville-esque. Is this supernatural or is it just a mystery?
I don't know if you will remember this or not, but back in the 20s or 30s, it was
I wasn't there yet.
No. Well,
neither were you.
We're in the 20s again, so I just gotta.
Don't bring that up.
There was a Lon Chaney Sr. vehicle that was called London After Midnight.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a lost film, but somebody here recently took script and so forth and sort of recreated with some movie stills and so forth. And they actually then remade it, was it in the 40s?
Yeah.
With Lugosi.
Yeah.
And Carol Borland as, she wasn't Vampira, but she was the vampire ghost.
Yeah.
And in both instances, they wound up not being actual vampires and ghosts and so forth. And so, that would play well.
I think the Hornet could kick ass and take names in that. I
think so. Another comment, somebody says, may feel that the supernatural is out of the Green Hornet's wheelhouse, but a writer with an imagination could pull it off very carefully.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so too.
I think so.
It's funny because the amount of response that we got, I expected more negativity. I just did.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I would be stepping on toes by posing that, and it's been overwhelmingly positive review.
Yeah, it really has.
So
it really has, and of course, a lot of people really enjoyed listening to Van.
Yeah.
In the last episode.
That's such a good episode.
That great old episode. Had a nice comment from John Haig, who a lot of people know as A. Pennyworth on the forums. And he said, excellent podcast.
Do the Vincent Price.
He was doing the Vincent Price thing. Van Williams, great to hear his voice again. Nice vintage interview. Thanks for sharing. Didn't know about his health issue. Pursue and Destroy, the submarine show that he was working on, is available for viewing online. Just in case, anybody is.
So we can actually watch The Hunt for Green October?
Well, yeah, it's the pilot episode.
Very cool.
And it's pretty crap.
Is it?
I watched a little bit of it. It's pretty crap quality because.
Oh, the quality. I thought you were talking about the show itself.
No. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing how how some of that stuff may play out in the future.
Yeah. It could be some. What's the word I'm looking for?
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
I don't think that's it.
Don't think that's.
Don't think that's it.
I just thought maybe that was. It
was a good guess, though. It was a solid guess.
Thank you. I wanted to revisit the idea of becoming the Green Hornet because we've been working on this movie project. It's gone, it goes ahead, it comes back. It goes. That's the way movie projects are.
Yeah.
But we're in the process. We're in the pre. What do you call it?
Production.
Pre-production. Yeah.
Pre-production.
We're actually into pre-production now.
Oh, okay.
All right. We have a cast. We've been actually working on some fight scenes and going through all that. But
do you have your star?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we do. And I think the little short's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
But in part of that is looking at the Green Hornet in a different light, and without giving away the whole plot of the thing. And we've already discussed a couple of aspects of becoming the Green Hornet. We had Andy Miller in talking about from the legal aspect,
the legalities of it.
Yes,
of vigilantism.
We chatted with Jason Bond in regards to the martial arts aspect of it. I'm thinking too of a couple of different avenues. We can either take both of them on, or we can hold it off for part 4.
Right.
But the morality issue. Morality's been a whole huge thing that's been going on lately, and a topic that's come to the fore. And the other part is the technology aspect of it. Right. The car, the gas guns, the Sting, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to do?
So, I'm intrigued more by the morality of it at this point.
Okay.
And that could just be circumstantial. But, the morality of vigilante justice is such an interesting quandary to get into, because when you come down to it, you have the drive for justice, the drive to correct a wrong that isn't being addressed properly by another situation.
Or at all.
Yeah, or at all. But at the same time, you are going against the structure of civilization, because setting up someone to discuss or to handle that, someone to represent justice, is part of the social contract. So you're going back and forth between the two. So you've got the look, this bad thing happened and I can do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or do we take the societal civil road and let it work itself through all the proper channels to make sure everything works all right? And when it comes down to the end of the line, you've got there's pros and cons to both, because you can get things that are taking to an extreme through legal channels. We've seen it in our own society, to where the system gets broken by too much. And that's when the drive for a vigilante comes in. That's when people want to see justice served when they see that it wasn't. But the morality of it is, who made you the harbinger of that?
Mm-hmm. You look at characters like Batman.
Yeah.
Who writers call it the inciting event. And you don't really have that with the Hornet.
No.
At least it's never really addressed. Now, when you get to the movie, it's kind of addressed in that because Dad dies. Kevin Smith had the same kind of thing in in the comic book idea. There is the inciting event. Something happens. Dad gets killed by mobsters, but in the actual radio shows, it's just not there.
No.
It's just all of a sudden it's Bruce. It's
Britt.
It's Britt and Kato, and they're out doing this thing.
Well, and so instead of an inciting event, you have somebody who's influenced by what they see.
Mm-hmm.
Britt is running the paper, and he sees all these things that are falling through the cracks.
The injustice.
And so he's going out and trying to rectify that situation. Now, again, that raises the moral, is that the right way to do it?
That's a good question.
I think culturally, we have lauded the vigilante societally for the entire history of the country. At the end of the day, we've always respected the outlaw, the person who does things their own way, the individualistic. That's really what our entire culture is founded on. So a vigilante going out and taking care of beating up the bad guy and taking care of business, that's something we aspire to. But is it the right way to go?
That's a good question. And I don't believe there's a real answer to it.
No, we can just talk in circles.
We can talk in circles all night long. I'd like to be able to say yes or no to that. The other thing that intrigues me in regards to this is the idea that a guy like Britt Reed, who owns this newspaper, who has an inside track on all of what's going on in his town, that decides to utilize that inside track to his advantage to be able to go out and take care of these situations. And then to take on the guise of a bad guy doing the right thing. I mean, it's kind of a brilliant idea.
It is. And I think that's the aspect of it that people, I don't think the average person, not the average Hornet fan, mind you, but the average person doesn't know that aspect of the character. I really, truly don't think they do.
No.
They just see another masked vigilante sidekick duo fighting crime. And that's how they look at it. But I think the aspect of, and this goes back to everything about putting it in front of people again, is letting people know that aspect of him doing it in the guise of a villain would bring things like, that's such an interesting take on it that I feel like is lost in the popular zeitgeist.
And not just to be a bad guy, to be the baddest.
Yeah, villain.
Yeah. The one that everybody, when they see or hear or whatever the case, say, oh, it's the Green Hornet.
Yeah, he's
oh, crap.
Right, he's the Kingpin.
Yes.
And Daredevil and Spider-Man all in one.
Yeah, he's all those things.
Yeah.
Which is so intriguing for the character, I believe, because who was I? I was reading something or somebody was talking about the fact that it was an undercover person. I think this was a story that I was probably watching on Perry Mason or something. But it was somebody who'd gone deep undercover.
Okay.
And we've seen the story, time and time again, where they get lost in the cover.
Yeah.
To the point where they almost forget the reality that they're supposed to be the good guys.
Yeah, they Donnie Brasco it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was radio play is what it was. And 1940s radio play that I was listening to here a while back. And it just intrigued me that Britt never gets lost.
No. He has a very solid sense of morality.
Yes.
That's the guiding thing is, and bringing it full circle, that's what we're talking about, is his sense of what is right and what is wrong is what is allowing it to happen. But he's playing 3D chess, or 4D chess, I should say, with I got to get this bad guy off the street. I need to get his, whatever he's bootlegging or whatever the crime was at the time.
Yeah.
I got to get that stopped. I got to make the cops think it was a hit by this villainous persona and get away.
Yeah.
And still cover it to keep the charade going. So there's so many layers of what's going on.
Yeah, and we've heard people talk about that before, the fact that he has this multiple level of a character that, in the reality of things, he's flat just a good guy that's trying to do the right thing. And at the same time, he's got this partner that has bought into it, hook, line, and sinker all the way. We don't ever really get, again, this is from radio show forward.
Right.
We don't ever get the reason why.
What is Cato's inciting event?
Yes. We don't have that.
Yeah.
It's been explored again. Kevin Smith, some of the others, they've written wonderfully rich backstories for that. Whether Britt is traveling abroad and, Hayashi, is being put into the Chinese, Japanese army, whatever the case happens to be at the time.
Depending on the time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I wrote a play years ago about that exact same thing, about two soldiers that went to war, World War II, that neither one of them wanted to be there doing that.
Yep.
Interesting that, we really don't have those backstories to build on.
So I pose this question. Do you believe a person is capable of being moral enough to do it properly without letting the power corrupt? Do you think a person's moral compass can withhold that in reality? Not just in the fictional the story, but becoming the Green Hornet. Do you think at the end of the day, do you think a person could go out and fight for justice and keep that moral compass as a thorough line?
In 2024?
Yes.
I don't personally believe so.
Yeah.
I really don't believe that we have, as a society, across the board. Now, of course, I can't speak for other cultures and so forth, but as far as here in the States, I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I don't believe so, but, okay, prove me wrong.
Right. Oh, I'd love to be proven wrong. I would love it. But it's just it's just what popped into my brain is like, I don't know that societally we have a direction of good that would make it possible. Just because what's good to you and what's good to me, while similar, may not be exactly the same.
Right.
And so it becomes very divisive, in my opinion.
And you have to look at it too from the aspect, again, we say 2024 as opposed to 1936.
Yeah.
Society's
very different.
Totally different.
Yeah.
And 1936, 1946, 1956.
66, it starts getting foggy.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing this out there in a podcast, greenhornet66.com. Please let us know.
Oh, God, yeah. By all means.
This is literally a spontaneous conversation. We hadn't discussed what this was going to be.
No. Life for Kory and I, especially for Kory, has kind of taken a left turn at the...
That's a creative way of saying dump.
But, you've had a lot of, both of us have had challenges, but you've had, a lot of life challenges. And we knew we had to have an episode ready to go. We promised to have an episode as best we can.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like at the last minute, well, let's just do a part 3.
Yep. So we appreciate anything you have to add to the conversation. But it really is just us having this conversation. It's as stream of consciousness as it is.
Definitely. And as I'm doing this, we're in the pre-production for doing this film, and the guy who is playing, the Britt Reed character in the film has actually been thinking about these things a lot. This happens to be me. But
I was going to say, wait, I know that dude.
He's a jerk. But, I think about that. I think about, could I do it? Could I put on the mask and go out and try and do the right thing in a wrong world? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do the right thing in a wrong world. I don't know. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Do you get lost in that?
Well, I think it is something that could be very interestingly explored. I think an introspective look at a vigilante is something we haven't got. You know what I mean? Like, I understand, like, you get the horribleness of the new Joker movie, where it's a different look at this thing, and I get what the guy was trying to do with it. I don't particularly enjoy it, but I think an introspective look, and I'm not talking broody. I don't want the Batman.
No.
But a look of a vigilante at what he's doing. I really think the only time I've seen that really explored was Daredevil.
Yeah.
And I know I bring up Daredevil a lot, but Daredevil to me is the closest amalgam to the Hornet in the popular zeitgeist. And I know the Batman Robin connection, but to me, the street level neighborhood, guy who has seen what justice is doing and going out and busting heads and trying to correct the wrongs.
Mm-hmm.
That street level is, to me, it's Daredevil. So that's where it comes down to as an amalgam.
Yeah.
Or not amalgam, but
well, no. And you have to consider then to throw into, because obviously Matt Murdock has this heightened,
right. It's heightened. It's not one for one
superpower kind of thing. But at the same time, Britt's a really super smart guy. I mean, he has his finger on the pulse of the entire city. He parties with the big dudes.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, then at night he pulls on the mask.
Yeah.
And it's just it's an interesting thought process to go through and discuss as what would it take to something that would be an inciting event for you.
Well,
what would it take?
Well, it'd be Punisher level if something were to happen to my family.
Yeah.
Like, I think, I can see that justification.
I mean, you look at the world as it is, and obviously one guy doesn't go after the world problems.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. You can't really even go after, federal or state kind of issues. It almost has to be a kind of a granular sort of city
Well, and the thing is when you look at it, there have been people who have tried to put the cape on, both literally and figuratively.
Yeah, we talked about some of those.
Yeah,
the Seattles, the Portlands.
Yeah. These guys that are going out and trying their damnedest to make their area safe. And that's what it comes down to, is safety. You're caring enough to put yourself in danger to make other people safe. And that is the moral crux of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
And just another aspect of not just vengeance. You know, it's a proactive stance to try and keep other people safe.
Righting a wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not vengeance, you know, because, that to me drives a whole other...
Yeah, we're not talking Death Wish.
No, it's not Punisher. It's it's righting the wrong.
Yeah,
making the streets safe. Walkable.
Which it's funny because you bring up Punisher. I remember I had a T-shirt when the Thomas Jane Punisher movie came out that had the Punisher skull on it, and it said it's not vengeance, it's punishment, which is kind of the crux of the character. And so, but that's the moral opposite of the Hornet. So,
love to hear your comments. Love to hear your take on all of this. Again, podcast at greenhornet66.com. And, just tell us you think we're full of crap. And, because there are days when I think I am just full of...
just shut up.
Yeah,
shut
exactly.
up, Factino.
Shut up. Just stop. There are... We're waiting for the new comic book.
Yes.
Which should be out, later this month.
I was a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Mid-month?
I think so. We've been trying to coordinate with the author and the artist on this. Both are very willing to do the show with us, but one's in New York, one's in L.A. One has family, one doesn't, and so it's
timing's difficult.
Yeah, timing is difficult. Same with the two folks from the French film.
Yeah,
we're trying to deal with 9 hour time difference and getting your schedule, my schedule, their schedules.
So that Friday, my daughter's in the hospital. That's about as much as I'm going to share. But my daughter's in the hospital. We had kind of a big, heavy day on Friday. And one of my all-time favorite bands, The Cure, released a new record. And I was like, I read this news article that they were going to play this live stream concert. And I got super excited. I'm like, this is a big, heavy, depressing day. I'm going to go home and I'm going to just watch 3 hours of The Cure. And then I realized the time difference between a London live stream concert and the fact that it was airing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon here. It's like,
it's not going to work. So yeah, we've been dealing with a lot of that, and life goes.
Yeah,
life goes.
Yeah,
regardless. We'd love to hear from you. Podcast at greenhornet66.com. We would love to have your comments on any of this. And I still want to do the episode on, the technology.
Oh, that's coming. That's coming. We got to talk to an engineer and see what would go into making some of those things happen.
Some of those things. That's a great idea. Do you know any engineers?
I know a couple.
Can we get Tony Stark on the phone?
That guy's busy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm behind on my Marvel. He might be dead.
Yeah. Which universe are we in at this point in time? I have no idea. Is the Hornet in any one of those? They sort of put him in the the DC universe, the DCU, but
thanks to Dozier.
Yeah. Well, and I actually had that question asked multiple times when I've been in costume doing cosplay at different cons and so forth. I have often been asked, because people don't know the full history and they just ask, so are you part of? And I'm like, no.
So big news for me.
Yes.
I'm actually going to probably chase you around this year. I'm going to ECC.
Really?
Yeah, for my first run at Emerald City.
Emerald City Comic-Con.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see the reaction to you there.
I have put in, maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Hopefully maybe the universe will kick it back at me. We're in the Pacific Northwest, as Kory and I, up in the state of Washington, and we have a lot of great cons kind of in this area.
Good con area.
ECCC,
Rose City, Lilac City,
Fan Expo. I mean, there's all these great things. And Fan X is coming up in January. Couldn't go last year because we got snowed out.
Yeah.
We couldn't get from here to there. It's about a 3.5-4 hour drive, and they shut everything down. They shut highways down.
Yeah.
At one point, so they kicked our tickets forward.
Oh, cool.
Which was nice. So we'll be going to that as long as it doesn't snow again, in January. And I threw it out to the folks at Fan X and said, I'd like to do a session. An hour-long session on the Hornet.
Oh, cool.
Kind of the forgotten hero. And I had to do my whole presentation kind of thing for them.
Just a full panel of it?
Yeah, just a full panel. And,
dope, dude.
And do, just a little history, a little bit of this,
right.
Back and forth. And I haven't heard back from him yet.
Okay.
So...
keep us posted.
Yeah, I would like to have as many people show up, and as the Green Hornet as possible.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man.
Bunch of green hornies out there.
I don't know if that's the way to put it.
Can I say that? Yeah, let's give me a buzz on that. But we're still waiting for news on a lot of. There's been a lot of things that sort of been dropped, little salt and pepper things here and there.
We're in that real rough holding pattern.
Yeah.
There are things coming, but it's when,
Yeah.
So
and I don't know. I honestly don't know. I get an email practically, 2 or 3 times a week asking about the DVDs. And, folks, at this point, there are no DVDs. I don't think there's even conversation going on, about DVDs. Movie, it's still working.
Get it on a streaming service. I want a DVD as bad as everybody else, but just get it in front of people.
One of the conversations, we're going to have to wrap up here just shortly. One of the conversations, though, that was being had on some of our forum stuff was they were discussing why not run the show on MeTV like they did Batman?
Yeah.
Well, they ran Hornet on
FX.
Was it FX?
Yeah.
But that's been how many years ago?
It was the 90s, so it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry.
And the question, of course, then is, 20th Century Fox, is it Bruce Lee Enterprises, Green Hornet Inc.? How do all these entities play together to make this? And it is difficult, mainly because, especially now with Bruce Lee, has his own, full-blown company that's doing things. Green Hornet Inc., which is kind of the quiet part of all of it.
Right.
But it's still an entity. It's still very viable. It's still, very active at pursuing, avenues and things. And then you've got the big guns with the movie companies.
Right. Does that mean to you that there's too many chefs in the kitchen?
I think so in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And as long as, they can work it out and play nice, we might wind up having, some Green Hornet back on the air someplace. But of course, we have YouTube.
Yeah.
If we can just get drive people to the YouTube to be able to watch the show.
Well, what I'm banking on is winning Mega Millions on Tuesday and going from there, and then we can back it.
I'm all about that. Yeah. You play my numbers too.
Oh yeah,
that'd be great. So it's always fun to sit and talk Hornet. I have had a lot of conversations with people at cons about the Hornet and the viability still here in 2024, and I do believe there is some viability. We just have to approach it.
Well, again, I think that, kind of circling back to what I said earlier, I think the viability lies in the fact that people don't really understand who the character is.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get it, that is an intriguing enough situation, and there's a lot dumber stuff out there now. That maybe came out harsher than I meant it to. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of poor things, and this could bring some real true viability to storytelling and get back out there and be relevant.
It's a really solid story. It really and truly is.
So we keep talking about going back. We talk about noir settings, 40s settings, 60s settings, animated having its own thing. What if, and we haven't really encroached on this angle, is what if, and I know this one's gonna bite me. What if there's a
Here, I'll just buzz you right now, okay? Yeah.
What if there's a CW style Arrowverse version of it that could modernize it? See, I knew that was the reaction I was gonna get. I knew that was the reaction. I'm just saying for viability's sake. Is that what we want? No, but I'm just asking.
Well, but that's a really good question, because the Arrow, Flash, all of these were really important to driving those characters forward. The problem for me, the problem is teenage angst.
Right.
There was so much teenage angst. That's what CW.
That's what CW does. Yes, that's their brand.
Nancy Drew. I loved the show. I thought it was well written and except for all the freaking teenage angst. And Dude, are you?
I spent 15 seasons of moody Supernatural. Trust me. I get what you're saying, but it's just yet another thing to try and, But I worry that there would be that's not my Hornet,
Yeah, but there's always going to be that.
Yeah, for sure.
Regardless, even if when they do a movie, there will be those that will go,
yeah.
That's not my Hornet.
Well, there'll be people that hate it before they even see a frame of it.
Of course.
It's just the nature of our world.
Yeah.
You can't make anything nowadays without somebody being like, I hate it. What is it again?
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it yet, but I hate it already.
I heard somebody else hates it, so I do too.
We need to have a conversation.
We love you, Internet.
Social media. Oh, yeah. Remind me of this conversation in about 5 minutes when we wrap this thing up, because
we get a story for another time.
No, I just have a thought. I just have a thought that it is not. It's a pregnant thought, not ready to be hatched or birthed right here, right now. Yeah. So with that, I think we're gonna tidy up the shoelaces and straighten up our faces. I feel like I'm in kindergarten again.
You put all the things in your cubby, Greg?
Yes, please.
We'll all sit back on the rug.
Can you help me button my coat? I love this conversation. I love this. How do you become the Hornet? How do you become the Hornet?
Yeah.
Can you in 2024 become the Hornet? So
So many questions. Please chime in.
Yeah.
Green Hornet or podcast at greenhornet66.com. Please. Not that anybody's been shy. We get lots.
No, we get lots. And thank you so much for doing that. It's important. There are shows that we do that we don't get as much. And feel free.
Yeah.
Feel free. I love it, whether you love it or hate it. Just let me know what you're thinking, because we want to make this continue on for as long as we possibly can.
And we need to know that it's not just two schmucks in a small room babbling at each other.
Which right now it is. All right, everybody, we appreciate you very, very much. If you have thoughts about this, by all means, let us know. And if you have thoughts for more shows, I know people still want us to go do episodes, and we want to do that. And there are so many other topics and avenues that we want to explore. Let us know.
Yeah, we're ready to...
Let us know. Yeah.
Get John up.
Let's roll.
Hi-ho silver, away.
As the night envelops the city once more, our journey through the hidden alleys of history and valor comes to a close. You've been riding shotgun with the Green Hornet Case Files, where the echoes of the past meet the voices of the present. Tune in again for the next thrilling adventure where shadows speak, secrets unfold, and the legacy of the Green Hornet continues to inspire. The Green Hornet Case Files is a Grail Productions podcast. The Green Hornet is owned exclusively by Green Hornet, Inc. Until next time, vigilant listeners, keep your wits sharp and your spirit unbreakable.